Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Move podcast, brought to you each and every time by OURA. OURA combines advanced sensor technology and a minimal design with a mobile app to deliver precise, personalized health insights straight from the most reliable source of your body, and that is the finger. Advanced heart rate variability, temperature, activity, sleep monitoring, all of it right there. So many key metrics. Head on over to OURA Ring, OURA Ring.com. Check out the flow code. Let's cue our mon ami Alain to talk about where we started and where we finished.
And his birds.
Stage 18, Pau to Luz Ardiden.
Well, Luz Ardiden, yeah, we know that one. We talked about it yesterday, but before we get into it, we just saw another exceptional performance from Tadej Pogačar. Tadej Pogačar had his mom and dad on the final climb. He's just playing with people. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, they were not going easy up that climb either. It would be interesting to see what their actual time was for that climb, but his attack near the top was just like playing with kids.
All right, we're going to break all that down. Today's show also brought to you by Hammerhead, the new Karoo 2, that otherwise known as the K2. It just keeps getting better and better. They've just upgraded it again. If you watch the NBC coverage, you saw the ads. I mean, the screen on this thing and the mapping, and now they have the new climber feature. This is when you're going up a climb, oftentimes people are like, oh my God, how much farther? Well, now you don't have to ask yourself that question. It's right there in the new update. This thing's a game changer. We're big believers in it. And plus, look at this. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, all these cases, they get these customized cases you can make. It's like a watch band. You can just, however you're feeling. This is the one for ISN. It's what I have on my K2. Total game changer. The fully loaded Karoo 2 and a limited run of the Moire Mode color kit are on sale now. Head on over to hammerhead.io.
Yeah, I love that feature. You can actually go into the settings and pick whether you want long climbs, medium climbs, or short climbs to pop up. So it'll pop up whatever you want.
All of them.
All of them, correct.
I want them all. Today's show also brought to you by a new marriage. Amp Human and Momentous. These two brands have come together to create really a human performance superpower. As you all know, we're big fans of Amp Human's PR lotion. Clinically proven to buffer lactic acid. When you see these guys climbing up the mountains, ultimately some of them, or a lot of them I should say, are getting dropped and just getting spit out the back. It's because they are building lactic acid and they can't buffer it. PR lotion, clinically proven to buffer that. Bunch of guys in the tour using it. Bunch of guys, actually across guys and gals across all the major leagues. Total game changer. And then couple it with Momentous. They're offering a special kit for us, the Move kit. So you get a batch of the Momentous Recovery Mix, which is we've been huge fans of for a long time, plus the PR lotion, plus a free massage ball. What, just massage you, or how do you? Never mind. $30 off for our listeners. Right, good discount there. amphuman.com/themove. Get your Momentous Recovery Mix, your PR lotion, and they're going to throw in a massage ball. amphuman.com/themove. As I watch Tadej Pogačar in these races, I love it. Like, I love the way he's riding with ease. I love the way he is dominating. I wonder if there's a little personal tension between him and Carapaz, because he's just giving them the beat down. So while I love that, as I watched it, and this is 2 days in a row, yesterday I was like, okay, cool. Today I was like, this is what I did. It's just not, it's not going to be popular. And you're starting to see that. We saw it today. And I was listening. I was like, it sounds like there's some boo and hissing going on. The French public, which is most of the people on the side of the road, are not going to like this. So that leads to the questions. They just don't support that. And it's sad, because I think it's amazing. He's the best guy in the race, but it's not going to be popular.
There's no doubt babyface Pogačar is a killer. Much like yourself back in the day. And today when Enric Mas made that move at the final, I mean, you got to cheer for the guy. He was swinging the whole way up that climb, trying to stay on the wheel, and they slowed up for a second, took off. I'm sure the directors were back in the car screaming and yelling. And I think everybody was in shock when they saw Pogačar chasing him down. essentially no reason. Of course, the win is a win in the Tour de France, always a big deal, but he's already won 2 stages. He's going on to win the Tour de France. Could potentially win the time trial as well. I think a lot of the directors and the fans were scratching their heads when he went after him.
Here's the thing. Once it starts, it's almost impossible to reverse it. I mean, you'd have to save an infant from a burning building on national TV. Like, you just can't turn it around. If I'm in his car, as much as I did that stuff and sort of like to watch it, if I'm his director in the car, I say, just sit down, let get forth.
You bring up a good point.
Did you just really say that?
I know.
Like, wait, who's talking right now? Because we got Johan on the line. I might need him to chime in, but did you really just say that?
Well,
because you've made me scratch my head many times.
No, this is clearly a little bell going off in your head, watching it from the outside looking in.
Okay. Well, while we're at it, we will bring in our special guest of the day, Johan Bruyneel, the greatest of all time. I'll say it again, the greatest of all time, who has his show with JB right after ours, JB Squared. But welcome, Johan. But I woke up early. I got a great night's sleep. I sat down in front of my fireplace this morning, had no noise. I wrote out my gratitude list. This is new lands. And I did a little meditating.
Checked out your vision board.
Yeah. And I took a walk, and then I walked outside in the grass barefoot and got grounded. But no, I look. The reason I mean this, I like this kid, and if you ask me, I think he's clean. We can go down and break down the performances actually in terms of times of these climbs. It's just you don't want to, and he's young. Mm-hmm. He could be facing 7. You keep doing this, and you're going to be facing a long. Believe me, I did it. It's no fun, and it starts with booze. And then it goes to they throw piss on you, then they spit on you, they do all these. I'm serious.
No, I know.
It's not worth it.
And we did a whole back in the day with Lance in a very similar situation. The fans started hating him. Kind of started figuring out ways to gain the hearts back of the French people, started talking in French, which we were showing some videos last year, making some good attempts. But the whole point of that was to try to get some love back on the side of the roads, because it's important. You want to have the support of the fans along the way.
Yeah.
How in comparison? So keep in mind, Pogačar, we didn't know he was going to win until stage 20 last year. Mm-hmm. So that was all happened at the end. So this is really, his first year to be so dominant throughout. How quickly did the fans start to turn back in the day?
Well, immediately. But he did win at the very end last year, but the performance was so exceptional that there were already people going,
in the time trial,
the French press and pundits going, pas normal, no, not normal. So it's a good question for Johan, being that you've had a decade separated from, or even more of it than a decade from those times. What do you tell him, Johan, if you're back? He's got this thing locked up. All he's got to do is stay on his bike. He could ride a fucking tricycle in the time trial. He still wins. What do you tell him, Johan?
It's funny you mentioned that, Lance, because I heard once somebody say that he could win up the West riding a tricycle. Yeah. And I told you not to. I told you not to win that day. But it's the second time he's going to win the Tour. As you say, last year was last minute. If I could choose, I would say, okay, go for it, win. It's sad in his case. He's 22 years old that you have to think about not winning the race to be popular. I'm sure he's going to learn. He's going to start to manage his races differently. Yesterday, on Spanish TV, it was Miguel Indurain was co-commenting, and they were talking about this. They were talking about him just winning the time trials, and then Miguel Indurain has never won a stage in the Tour de France wearing the yellow jersey except time trials. And he
was loved the world over. Very, very, very popular. Everybody. Yeah.
But at the same time, Miguel was like a diesel engine. He was an amazing time trialist. But did he have that same sort of pop that Pogačar did? I don't think so. And going back to your point, Johan, he's a kid. He's 22 years old. And I've actually texted, you guys say I don't have any sources, but my insiders on that team, like, for instance, the other day when he was sprinting against Carapaz and Vindegoe for like 13th place, like what in the world is going on? I asked him, why in the world would you sprint for that? And he goes, I have no idea. These are kids. They just can't help themselves. That was his response.
Yeah.
Did it help with public opinion when you chose to live in France?
No,
not at all.
There's nothing.
Nothing.
Helped. No,
Oh, you mean like living in southern France in a villa overlooking the ocean? Yeah, it probably didn't help that much.
Not too many of my neighbors were standing on the roadside of Luz Ardiden. The TV showed these guys just drunk off their ass, passed out. Yeah, none of my neighbors were up there. But no, nothing. This is my point, or one of the points I made is it's irreversible. And I would, actually, George, it's probably worth talking to Alan Piper. It's just look, you got to admire the kid for just wanting to win and crush people. I love that.
Yeah.
But he's going to be around long. I tell people all the time, cycling is a marathon meets NASCAR meets a political race. Right?
Absolutely.
And so you got to just, and you know what? I'm surprised I'm even saying this. I just said that. I was like, shut up, Lance. But no, I'm right. I mean, he's got to show a little.
Well,
unless I think there's something with Carapaz. I think that little sneaky move yesterday was lame. I think he said, "Okay, I'll get you for that one." He did yesterday, and he said, "I'll do it again today."
But at the same time, is there something against Movistar and Enric Mas as well? I mean, because they're leaving the Tour basically empty-handed. Of course, 6th place is still a big deal in the Tour de France, but being in the Pyrenees, so close to Spain, I mean, this could have been a monumentous day for the team.
Well, how about a kid like Vingegaard, who at the finish line, you see he comes immediately up to Pogačar. They're tight. They look like they're, quote unquote friendly. Sepp Kuss came over to Pogačar. You don't see Carapaz anywhere, so a little chill in the air. How about Vingegaard is going to beat Carapaz easy in the sprint as he's done every day. How about let him win a stage, right? If it's your homie.
Yeah,
shit comes around.
Yeah, yesterday Johan pointed this out like it was in the air, the political part of bike racing, and Johan can elaborate on it. He said the ideal scenario would be if Pogačar gives somebody a win. Ideally, David Gaudu, who was up in the hunt, which George picked him to be up in the hunt. I'm amazed when you guys pick somebody to be up there like that.
And going back to that wasn't actually anything to do with UAE or Pogačar. That was Ineos riding like they're still leading the Tour de France and winning the race overall. We're all sort of scratching our heads on that tactic.
Yeah, $14 million in salaries in the Tour. That's a ton. Just salaries alone, no other part of the budget. But you're right, George. That they are the ones that didn't let him get a big gap, and ultimately the ones that reeled him in. So,
yeah, and just being a fan of Teo and Kwiatkowski, these guys are obviously riding really well, and they're not really making a difference in terms of the overall right now. The podium is going to work itself out. I mean, I feel like they should be going for the stage wins and giving them. I feel like the directors there should be giving them the freedom to go on days like today and yesterday.
Mm-hmm. I want to hear more on the politics of racing and this popularity thing. I mean, if you're advising Pogačar, each one of you, including Johan, I mean, what do you tell this kid about how to play this? So
we have 23 teams times 8. Do the math. These are all people that can drastically change your life in the race, especially, maybe less now at this point in the race, but before you know it, we'll be back on the start line in 2022, and you'll be out there with 200 guys again.
You don't want the majority of the peloton hating you. There's so many little things that happen on the road, whether it's, back in the day you see Lance coming up, it's Lance, I'll give him a little bit of room. It could easily shift to where like, screw him, it's Lance, I'm not giving him any room. And those little things add up throughout the day, and if you have more and more teams, ganging up on you, so to speak, it makes it a lot harder.
Johan?
Well, I think that, the not friendliness is not coming from inside the peloton. Nowadays, George, I spoke to somebody today who was racing as recent as 3 weeks ago. And he said, I don't want to do it anymore because this has changed so much. There's no respect. Nobody gives anybody any room. It's nervous. It's stressful. Everybody's on top of each other. And so, everybody just races to win. They sprint for everything. They race for everything. As you see, for 13th place, they sprint.
That's not going to change. That's just going to keep getting more and more.
And also, of course, it's going to be an issue for Pogačar. But this kind of bad vibes, you only get them in France. I mean, if you're racing in Spain or you're racing in Italy and you win another stage, they love that. They're gonna admire you. It's in France now. Of course, the Tour de France is in France, and that's
big scoop.
That's
there.
The problem. But yeah, I mean, I think it will point itself out. It will. If he's going to win this tour next year, he's of course going to be the big favorite. They're going to, and luckily, let's say one thing. Luckily, the team UAE is actually not the strongest team in the race. Imagine Team Ineos.
If that was the blue train.
Riding for Pogačar. It would be a nightmare.
Right. Johan, how much, I know in our day we monitored the press closely just to try to get a sense for the vibe out there. But how much are you checking in on L'Equipe and Le Monde and Le Figaro and Journal Dimanche, all these things? Are you, where is, and of course they cover the race, which is like the blow by blow, but the bigger story and the, a bigger presence in the paper is the editorial. That's where the guy, you get these clowns like Philippe Brunel and all these guys that don't know a breakaway from a baguette. They sit there and say, oh, he's a terrible, what are they saying?
Yeah, I mean, I have not been following the French press too much, but it's the reaction of the people on the course. You see the booing yesterday, today. That's what because people have read something. They've read these suspicions. It just doesn't come out of the blue. I'm 100% sure that there is this climate at the Tour de France. We've seen it today. This morning we woke up to, it's not UAE, but this police intervention into Team Bahrain, which is also only possible at the Tour de France. And apparently, from what I've read, is because at the Dauphiné, there were complaints about two French team directors that wanted to stay anonymous, that the performance of Team Bahrain was not normal.
At this year's Dauphiné or last year?
This year's Dauphiné. Yeah. When this guy Marc Padoun won 2 stages, and so this happens in France. 50 police guys showed up at the hotel of Bahrain. They were together with Team Movistar. So I got it from somebody from Team Movistar who said this was unbelievable. It was like an intervention, like they were chasing a serial killer.
Right. Huh.
Yeah. Why 50 police? It's not like cyclists are difficult to wrangle.
Seized everybody's computers and cell phones. George and I actually had a fun a little side jam this morning while we were watching the race. Because most cell phones are locked, if not all. And whether you're Apple or Samsung, they don't turn over the code. So George's like, well, you just give them the code. Or I said, what? No fucking way. You're getting my code to my phone.
They seized their computers and phones.
And they're keeping them for 2 months.
I didn't know we were going to mention that on the show, but yeah, apparently that was the
And George
case.
is like, well, they'll put you in jail. I said, great. Put me in jail. I'll be out in 24 hours and you're not getting my code.
Wow.
And I got nothing to hide, but you didn't know.
Well,
Anyway.
this is in France. It's not like you're in Aspen and sheriff's coming to bail you out of jail. You might have to make some other calls.
I got 400 count sheets in that jail down there, man.
You're not deputized in France, brother.
Yeah, you're damn right I'm not. But speaking of France, so this is a fascinating conversation because, and I'll just say this before I say anything else. I love the country. I love going to France. I like the people. I love the food, the riding, the culture, I love it. But France doesn't like champions. All right. And I'm just going to give you a concrete fact here. So if you go back, and we saw at the beginning of the tour with Mathieu van der Poel and all the good vibes and all the sweet stories around his grandfather, Raymond Poulidor. Poulidor never won anything.
And they love
He raced at the same time as Anquetil, right, Johan?
Yeah, well, he never won anything in the Tour de France. He never won the Tour de France.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But I mean, he was second so many times. He was on the podium, but he could never win. He was much more popular than anybody else because he got second all the time.
Then even Anquetil.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Anquetil was a prickly guy. You know, won a lot, was aggressive, was winner take all kind of dude. No gifts.
So they do it to their own countrymen if they're a champion.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I wasn't around then, but
right.
You know, he was greatly loved. And if you watch the coverage, they actually had old footage where they would go down the barriers and say, "Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite? Who's every single person?" Poulidor.
Yeah,
he never won.
I think back in the day when you were winning the Tour, the most hated athletes in France were Schumacher and Armstrong
and Serena Williams.
That was my next question. They do this in other sport too.
Yeah. Well, guess what? Schumacher, 7 titles. Serena still playing, still winning. Hello. It's I just worry. It's just hard to turn it around.
Yeah. It's not easy what he has in front of him. That's for sure. But he'll figure it out. He's a smart kid. He'll figure it out.
Well, let me ask you this: does that weigh on you?
I was able to compartmentalize it, but it's distracting. I don't think I didn't lay awake at night and worry about it. It did elevate to the point where there were death threats. I know that's worse than pee or spit or bad words. But when it got to the level of death threats, you sort of sit there and say,
yeah,
how do we do this?
It got so bad to some years that in the team meetings, Johan would be like, I need 2 guys in front of Lance, just in case somebody jumps out on the road and tries to get him off his bike going 30, 40 miles an hour. I mean, those are the type of concerns that we had going into the 3rd, 4th, 5th years that he was winning.
We're not to mention the snipers in the car in 2004 on the time trial up Alpe d'Huez. How about that?
Yeah. Were any of those
snipers in our car? I don't know if I knew that one.
I mean, now death threats are easy in a social media world, but back then it would have been a much more serious inquiry, right? Were police ever involved?
100%. The State Department was involved. That's how it came to our attention. The State Department called and said, "Hey, this is serious." They actually, not knowing that 2004 was the year to break the record, and I would have ridden no matter what. But they sort of said, "Are you sure you want to do this?"
Wow,
there's a million people on the side of the road on Alpe d'Huez. You're just sitting, you're out there all alone. I said, "Hell yeah, we're going out there. Just get those guys, get the guns pointed, get them, make sure they find this dude."
Wow.
Yeah, it's.
No, it was scary. It was scary.
I mean, there was a lot going on. I don't think Slovenia is going to invade Iraq anytime soon.
No.
The global political climate was heated. We were Americans. We were on a team sponsored by the U.S. Postal Service.
Man.
I was an asshole. It was winner take all. Screw everybody else. Second place is first. It was the whole thing. George Bush was the president, was an old friend of mine. It just added up and boom, it ends with snipers in the car on Alpe d'Huez.
Wow.
Dude.
That's complicated.
Yeah, it was intense. It was intense. So yesterday on our ride, I tried out this nitric oxide, right? You said there's
secret weapon. We are getting a lot of emails about it, and I included do not really know what it does. People are going, "What does that do for you?"
You don't know what it does, or they don't know what it does?
Both.
It doesn't fuel your IROC Z from when you were a junior in high school. But
it would be nitrous oxide.
So here's the deal: the body naturally produces nitric oxide, and you can increase it as much as you want. The harder you go, the more you need, the more oxygen you need. This simple supplement makes all the difference, and George can attest. He's good thing he's got his son on the ride because he's got an excuse to stay back.
I do. Like I said, I took yesterday off and I'm feeling good today. I already popped 2 of these right before the show. I feel like even at altitude, which is a much tougher task, I can hit the red line and stay there longer.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. It was rainy and gross here yesterday too, but I'm coming for you, dude.
All right, bring it.
You can get Swiss RX nitric oxide at the feed. But the guys over there let us, they told us for today only, check this out. If you go to SwissRx.com, you can save, check this, 50% off. That's right, half off for all our Move listeners at SwissRx.com/TheMove. Another thing, and we're just going to keep going down this because Pogačar is going to have 3 jerseys in Paris. He now is going to have the polka dot jersey, which I fully support. And I don't think he was sprinting or trying to win the stage to get mountain points. But he is the best climber in the race. The best climber should have the polka dot jersey. He's going to have yellow, polka dot, and the white jersey.
I don't know. Today I legitimately felt bad for 3 riders. Okay. Enric Mas, who I felt like perhaps Pogačar shouldn't have chased him down. He could have gotten the win. Huge victory for him and the team. Wout Poels has been racing so aggressively, perhaps one of the most, if not the most aggressive rider of the whole Tour de France. Loses the polka dot jersey on the last mountain stage after winning or getting valuable points on the Tourmalet. And then, you know, my Colombian blood is feeling really bad for Urán.
Rigoberto Urán.
He had
loses 9 minutes.
9 minutes today. Was right there fighting for the podium the whole race and had a slightly bad day yesterday, but today just completely blew up. So that was hard to watch.
And so the big storyline we talked about yesterday was this competition for who gets that final step on the podium. I think that's over. We can stop talking about that. Now the best story is, and we'll talk about tomorrow's stage in a bit, but is the Mark Cavendish story, which we haven't talked about in a week due to being in the mountains. But yeah, Urán, I think they said that he overheated yesterday. He looked hot yesterday.
Yeah.
Johan, do you have any scoop on Urán? I mean, he outside of what we all know that he's now sitting in 9th.
Not specifically. The only thing that I can compare with is that last year, more or less the same thing happened. He was there with a shot at the podium. I think he was sitting in 3rd, and he did an extremely bad time trial for his capacities. Mm-hmm. So he's obviously not finishing the Grand Tours very well. I don't think he could do any. I mean, he rode very economically, very smart the whole race. You know, when the tank is empty, it's empty. You know, when yesterday was a little sign, but today was no saving. Not possible to save anything.
It seems like from the rest day on, he just wasn't the same Urán. And like we always say, everybody reacts differently from the rest day, but unfortunately he had a huge time loss today.
I wonder, it's worth bringing up. I mean, we've had a little fun talking about him staying in Miami, training in Miami, preparing for the Tour de France, the Alps, the Pyrenees, the 3 weeks, all the heat, the cold, all of it in Miami. You know, I mean, it was a cute story. No, and I loved it.
Yeah, I still love it. I mean, the fact that he was there amongst the best up until now. I mean, there's no doubt the man has as much or more experience than any of the other Grand Tour riders. You know, he's in his 30s now.
But my question is, has that caught up with him?
Has that? That's a good question. I'm going to say no.
I think that Rigoberto Urán was riding in a position based on his endurance and especially his experience and riding smart. Probably, if you really look, he was always just barely hanging on. Like and every time there was a little gap, just barely making it. You know, he's been riding for 2 weeks over his limit, and then when it pops, it pops. You know, and he got the bill presented today.
Yeah, this is 9 minutes of bills. I mean, it was. And once he was done, he was done. That's it. I mean, just...
Yeah, for him to lose that much time. I think he crested the Tourmalet about under 2 minutes behind, which is still manageable. He could have perhaps stayed in the top 5, top 7, but he lost another huge amount of a huge chunk of time on the Luz Ardiden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Today's show also brought to you by Roca. We talk about them every day. I love it. Love Rob and the whole team down there. Amazing athletes making product for people that want to push themselves on the bike, off the bike. Doesn't matter. By the way, they got the new female shade back. The Lola is back in stock. Unbelievably lightweight. The best lens is on the market. So that's on the performance side. The prescription glasses, JB, big fan. I'm the big fan of my reading glasses. Don't go anywhere. But in fact, I have them I have to stash them everywhere. They're like I leave 2 pairs at the office, 2 pairs in my car because you lose these things. So and Rob keeps me nice and stocked up.
They've really dialed it in on the home try-on, which is what I did.
Yep.
Sent me the 5 pair, boom. And my wife picked these out. And then even doing progressives from home remotely. They've got it all figured out.
Our listeners get 20% off. Head on over to Roca, ROKA.com, and that's put in the move for 20% off. Last one of the day also brought to you by Athletic Greens, the most comprehensive daily nutritional beverage I've ever tried, actually. I mean, you and I have been religious about it since the product showed up. They say it takes maybe a few weeks before you start to notice the difference. As I said the other day, and I actually had another conversation with him this morning, Dr. Peter Attia, who's widely regarded as one of the leaders in the longevity space, huge fan. And Attia will tell you, I don't take anything except for this. Yeah. So just take that, put that in your pipe and smoke it. 75 absorbable vitamin, minerals, probiotics, superfoods, all in one product. And here's the kicker. They could have stopped with the first one because it was great. They've reinvented the formula 52 times. I think that's just unbelievable. For our listeners, they also get a year's supply of vitamin D, which I love because I'm chronically low in vitamin D. So you get a year's supply of vitamin D, 5 free travel packs. Head on over to athleticgreens.com/themove. athleticgreens.com/themove. There's a flow code.
It actually tastes quite good, so it's not a hard thing.
Some of these things you're just like, oh boy, do I really have to do? It's good actually.
Yep.
A couple other things we had in our notes to talk about that one's been lingering for a couple days is if you're a casual fan, a spectator watching the coverage, the time gaps just are inaccurate and seem to fluctuate like crazy. And I'm also constantly going, I wish I could just see a visual of where is so-and-so, how far back. They do the best they can, but you'll see the time gap. The
GPS unit. I mean, if you're a fan, like you're truly staring at the top of the screen and seeing where the groups are. I mean, they jump all over the place, and that's I'm sure it's hard to do. The weather affects that. Being on climbs, being in the high mountains, being on switchbacks, the GPS isn't down to the inch. But if you're sitting there really taking that for, as it is, it's oftentimes wrong. But
it's confusing. We're watching it. Even when Sepp was away the other day, we're like, he's got it. Oh no, he's lost 10 seconds, and it was just flopping back and forth. So for us, we've been struggling with it over the last week for sure.
Yeah,
and we saw an old school move today with the newspaper in the.
We did for folks. I mean, that jersey. You may not have caught it, but it happened a lot more in the old days. These days, maybe they'll have a staff member that'll give them a vest or a jacket. But in the old days, the fans would hand up just a section of the newspaper. So they're not handing you the New York Sunday Times, where it's just a section. They'll unfold it, and just if you even get half of it on your chest, you'd be surprised. You'd be shocked at how well it works. Like it cuts all the wind. It's obviously absorbing the moisture while it's in there. It works pretty damn good.
Yeah, even these days, it's easier than putting on a vest. You can just barely even have to take your hands off the bars. One hand, spread the paper out, and you got some wind protection the whole way down the mountain.
Yeah. We're talking tomorrow's stage. George seems to think it's a lot harder. I don't know if you talked to some of your peeps, but we're back to this story, right? And it's an amazing story, right? The story of Mark Cavendish. He's now tied with Eddie Merckx. Tomorrow is a chance to break the record. And it's also if I were him, man, I just wouldn't want to come into Paris with having to win to break the record. Like, let's get it tomorrow. Let's get it over with.
I agree. The man's on a roll, form of his life. Certainly would be an amazing story to get it in Paris, but he probably doesn't want to risk it all on Paris. But at the same time, tomorrow is 125 miles long, super hard day, very hilly in the beginning. I mean, Johan, we still have Johan here, right? Johan is a director, and you're one of the guys that have not, one of the teams that have not won a race. I mean, how important, how hard are you going to stress? You better make that breakaway, and you better make it as hard as possible. This better not finish in the sprint. They have 15 teams wanting this tomorrow.
Exactly, 15 teams without a stage win. I think it's a very big possibility. It's not a bunch sprint tomorrow. It's going to be. I mean, the group that will go will be big.
Yep, exactly.
And nobody's going to help the Koenig Quick Step.
Nope.
Nobody.
And there aren't as many sprinters at this point for their teams to help pull that we would normally see.
There's Philipsen left, but he has, I think, 3 or 4 teammates left. That's the other thing. All the teams are down to, except UAE, the Koenig Quick Step, and three or four. But most of the teams have 5, 4, some 3 riders. So
I
It's going to be a hard day. It's going to be a hard day for the Koenig Quick Step.
I don't like to disagree with Johan, but I think first of all they have the horsepower to easily control it. I mean,
I wouldn't say easily.
I wouldn't say
they have the horsepower.
They have the horsepower. Get it out. Those guys don't want that pressure in Paris either. The guys that are going to be on the front pulling, they got to get it out of the way tomorrow. And I'll double down on this. We've only had 8 teams win stages. We are going to finish this tour with only 8 teams winning. Yeah,
interesting.
Cavendish is going to win tomorrow. Okay, and he's going to win in Paris because he has nothing to lose at that point. And Wout van Aert's going to win the time trial. There's only going to be 8 teams.
Throwing it out there.
Yeah.
I agree. They have the horsepower to control it. At the same time, this is, do or die tomorrow for 15 teams. There's going to be a lot of collaboration to get in the breakaway. Super aggressive. It's not going to be an easy task. They have the horsepower. But I think it can go either way tomorrow, whether it finishes in a bunch sprint or a breakaway.
So you're going to get up early and watch the start?
I got up early today. I mean, you saw... we saw a nice American, Sean Bennett, getting away, which I think is a huge deal. Him still being aggressive 3 weeks into his first Grand Tour. Pretty awesome to see. But you saw the guys ripping it up that Category 4 climb, Alaphilippe bridging up to them. I mean, there's huge aggression at the start. Tomorrow is going to be even more because you have the majority of the peloton actually has a shot to win, actually has a shot to make the breakaway. And you have all the directors all over them saying, this is your final shot to win a stage of Tour de France. You got to go all in tomorrow.
Special offer for our members. I just made this up because I can. George is so excited about tomorrow's start. It starts at 12:30 European time, so that's 4:30 here. We're going to do a live stream and watch George get up at 4:30.
Ouch.
Just for members. Would you do that for all your peeps? They're not here for me. They're here for you.
I'm a team player.
We want to see you get up, just looking all skanky with your hair.
We'll figure that out today on our happy hour. How about that?
Oh yeah, we do have a happy hour tonight for members. But I'll set your alarm for you. Give me that phone. Give me the code. Start digging in your DMs, see who's sliding in there.
Sliding in.
You filthy bastard. Let's talk about the We Do segment over there in Brevard, brought to you by Outside Plus, because there has been people are now listening. There's been a shakeup, especially in the women's U23, but we've got some updates. Just before we get to that, Outside Online is offering their new membership package, Outside Plus, now for 25% off for our members. Head on over to outsideonline.com/TheMove. Type in MOVE25 for 25% off. Robin and his team just crushing. I don't know if you saw the news yesterday. Just a whole nother string of acquisitions. Just acquired Pink Bike, Trail Forks. They are building out a monster. Proud of them. Proud to be an investor there many, many moons ago. So let's check it out. Who is okay for starters? Now we've talked a lot about Ben Wright and Tyler Orschel. All right, separated by only 10 seconds. A certain David Talbot comes over the top out of nowhere. By the way, you got 2 more days to do this. He comes in at 14:37, so 24 seconds ahead of the kid, Ben Wright. But you look over here at women's U23. The previous best time was 29:20. Nina Machina.
What a great name.
Nina Machina. How do you say Nina Machina? Oh, my God. I want to meet her parents. Like the girl comes out and is like, their last name's Machina. And you go, let's call her Nina. Nina Machina. She's 5 minutes up on Skylar Bovine.
I think we're going to see a couple more of the women's U23 hitting it in the next couple of days. But fun fact about our boy David, he's an expert climber, Category 1 cyclist who raced for the U23 national team. And when he isn't racing bikes, he's an equity financial analyst for a company in Stamford, Connecticut.
So he knows what he's going to do with his 10 grand. He's already he's studying the markets. He's buying low and selling high, right? And then Jill Patterson over the top too, 2 seconds ahead in the women's open category. 19-14 ahead of Madison Maloney. And George's close friend Beata Ronska.
Where's she at? Third.
You better stop sliding into George DMs and get over there and beat that time. Tyler Miranda, men's U23, he's got a decent lead, but 2 more days. For these folks that just got
I'll tell you what, David's going to be tough to beat. He's got 16 pages of KOMs on Strava.
Sounds like he's not doing too much equity trading.
Yeah. Sounds
like he's out there doing 40-20s, just capturing. Who's that clown that goes out and gets all the KOMs? I forget his name, but this is what we need. We need a real guy like this guy.
Mike.
That's right. Oh, God. I tell you what, I'm not riding the tour. You guys, this is hard work. I get tired.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm running on
hard
fumes, but it's fun. It's fun. What else we got, JB?
We got some questions and comments. Max writes, currently I'm in Japan getting ready for the games and rowing.
Oh, damn.
So I'm enjoying listening to both podcasts in my downtime. I know the Olympics comes right after the tour. Will you guys be covering that? That's from Max Latimer. I think he's a Canadian rower.
Well, first of all, good luck, even though, we cheer for the Canadians sometimes.
Definitely.
I don't know how our rowing game is, but if it's not at the top, then we're cheering for Max. Or Matt. Is it Matt or Max?
Max.
Max. I got a son named Max. I'll cheer for you, buddy. Yes, we're going to cover all of the Olympics. Maybe not so much the track, but certainly the road events. I'd love to cover the mountain bike events too, because those are going to be fireworks. I mean, these guys, all the guys we talk about, including who we haven't talked about this tour, but Tom Pidcock, who is a big favorite. So I'd love to.
And we have an American, Kate Courtney is a favorite for the women's mountain bike race.
Yep.
Yeah, and we do still have Johan on. Do you have any things that we should be looking for in the Olympics that you're into?
I'm not a big fan
Not
of
big
the
on it?
Olympics. No.
Really?
I especially for professional cycling, I don't think I know.
Did you guys prefer it when it was amateurs only in the Olympics? And when did that?
I was fortunate enough to be at the first Olympic Games that were accessible for professionals, which Atlanta '96.
I thought you were talking about Athens. I was like, damn, I know you're old, but I thought you were going to stop. I had the pleasure of being at the first Olympic Games.
When they raced nude.
We were wrestling tigers, chewing on cocaine leaves.
You got him.
There we go. You don't like that.
But,
He doesn't laugh that much.
There's for the Olympic Games, for example, there's quite a bit of I wouldn't say controversy, but criticism on, for example, the Belgian team. It's 5 riders only, and they made the selection. George is going to like this one. You're going to like this. They made the selection a few weeks ago, so it's 4 riders plus Greg van Avermaet.
Of course.
Greg van Avermaet is the defending champion, but there's a lot of criticism because Greg van Avermaet is not riding very well for the moment, and Dylan Teuns was pre-selected as a reserve. He has shown that he has had good form, and so now basically the press, the Belgian press, is kind of putting a little of pressure on. Van Avermaet should give up his spot for Dylan Teuns. So.
Yeah, I don't know where I fall on that. I don't follow the Belgian Olympic selection that closely, to be honest. But he is the defending champ, and that's a big honor for him. But if he's going to go and not expect to be protected and work for the team, he's plenty of power to do that.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I agree. And I think that on this course, Greg is professional enough to know that he will be a gregario. It's all for Wout van Aert and maybe Remco Evenepoel. They have chances in both the road race and the time trial because Van Aert does both and Remco does both.
Yep. What else we got?
We've got a slide here. You guys told a story about being in Prague, and it says, greetings from the Prague Four Seasons. Lance and George, big shout out to both of you from the housekeeping and Bell staff. Lance, we very much enjoyed the old jerseys and damaged frame sets you left for us.
I remember that.
George, thank you for your generous $5,000 tip. It was too kind. Best of all possible regards, your domestiques in Prague.
Is that for real?
No, I know the photos. It's not for real, but that's pretty awesome. That is the entrance, though.
The email is for real? I don't know. Either way, that's amazing.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Here we go. You mentioned on the show that your listeners are cyclists, but I think you likely have many non-cyclist listeners like me who are simply fans of great sporting events. During the shows, you'll mention that race strategy has changed quite a bit over the years. Can you elaborate on what has changed since the Lance and George were racing in layman's terms. That's from Sue in Montreal.
Yeah, Sue, Johan talked about it earlier when he just sort of talked about the dynamic within this modern day peloton, that it's just sort of every man for himself, and there's no, they're racing for everything. So that would be a big shift. I mean, in our day, after a year or two, there was a hierarchy, and they let us kind of do whatever we wanted, but sounds like today it's just get out of my way. I don't care who you are. So that would be a big shift. But Johan follows this stuff closer than us.
Yeah, I think also that. Go ahead, Johan.
I think one of the things that has changed a lot also is until maybe 10 years ago, almost all directors were ex-professional cyclists. This has changed. Now there's professional cyclists, ex-professional cyclists, but there's almost always a coach, a more scientific person, and they're also influencing the race tactics. So what I hear from the people who are inside is that the relationships between the teams are not, it's basically everybody is in their bubble, everybody does their thing. There's no natural allies that were formerly quite common. That doesn't happen anymore. It's just basically you can see it. Like if in Ineos, every single day that there was a mountain stage, they have done their thing, no matter what the situation was. This is what we do. We ride and we try to get a stage win, or we try to get a better situation for the GC. So there's not anymore these kind of natural agreements that sometimes happened in the past between teams.
Yeah, and I think a lot more money is spent on sports science. These guys are never home anymore. They go from race to altitude camp. Every calorie that goes into their bodies measured now, much more than it was back in the day. And not only that, they're training their bodies to absorb much more carbohydrates per the hour, which the amount of carbohydrates these guys are taking in per hour is a lot more than we did back in the day.
Yeah.
But hasn't the off-season changed? It seems like these guys are racing
what off-season?
more year-round. But you guys had an off-season.
Oh, God. Yeah, I went from late July until, February.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's over. Yeah.
One more here.
One of us.
Was there any rider that stands out from having the weirdest superstition or habit before a race, kind of like baseball and hockey players do? For instance, someone who never washed their kit, nasty, or wouldn't wear chamois butter because it brought bad luck. Thank you for keeping us entertained throughout the tour and the entire season. That's from Brian in San Diego.
God, that's an awesome question.
No, I do. No, I don't have the answer to that. I do have a funny story about Mark Cavendish, 2009, Milan-San Remo. We're getting ready for the start. I may or may not have told this story before. It's just, we all know Milan-San Remo's early wake up, 6 a.m. wake up. Race starts at 9 o'clock. It's chilly. It's pressure. There's a high chance of you're going to crash and get seriously messed up. 300-kilometer race. We're getting ready to go sign in. He's rubbing self-tanner on his legs before Milan-San Remo. I go, bro, what are you doing? He goes, well, what? My legs need to look good. I'm too white right now. And he went on to win Milan-San Remo.
What does he want? Like baby oil, or what do we got?
No, self-tanner. Like, that
like
brown stuff.
Cream.
Like a tanning cream. Yeah, before Milan-San Remo.
You should just go get a tanning spray. Here's a funny, it's not, you can't always stick to it, but I find myself almost doing exclusively now. I'll only get on my bike from the left side.
Really?
Unless in the races you got to get back on however you can, but I will move that bike around to my right side so I can throw the right leg over.
Huh.
I didn't know that.
Watch today.
Don't miss Johan's show coming up, JB2 and La Movida.
Which you're going to make an appearance on at some point, right?
I'm going to try to do it for the time trial. We'll see.
Johan, did you have any superstitions or anyone you rode with?
Yeah, I had two or like two special undershirts that I preferred because I won a few races with it, and then I always wanted to ride with that undershirt. So I think a lot of riders do have that kind of special preference.
Yeah. Yeah, we could think about that one for a minute, because there are probably some weird, stuff. I mean, Armand de las Cuevas was always a strange guy way back in the day. Rode for Benesto, huge talent. Unfortunately, he's no longer alive. But man, no talent. That dude was. If you said it was black magic, I'd be like, yep. Like he was. Seriously, this dude was crazy. And
he was very special.
And an insane talent. Like he realized probably 10% of his talent. He was a beast.
Happy hour today for members.
Yep.
So you can go to wedo.team and sign up for that. It's going to carry you all the way through next year, too.
Yeah, 12 months. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you back tomorrow. We'll see if Mark Cavendish breaks the all-time record for stage wins. Eddie, knock, knock. Here he comes.